So you should really not wash your hair, irrespective of your hair type.
Yeah.
Not wash your hair, like not shampoo it more than 2 to 3 times a week.
Correct.
Do not kind of get fixated upon understanding the porosity.
And it's also genetics, I feel. Even somebody with straight hair who tends to color their hair very often, bleach their hair very often, using a deep conditioner hair mask becomes mandatory. And generally, like one thing that we have to notice is like straight hair and wavy hair, they tend to get weighed down very easily. So even using the right amount of product, quantity also matters. And it takes a little bit of trial and error. Like
that is the biggest mistake most people make, that they try to... Hi everyone, I'm Yuba.
I'm Hinshara.
We are the founders of Manetain and welcome to yet another exciting episode of Main Talks.
So Yuba, have you ever felt, very confused when it comes to like shopping for hair products? I'm sure initially it would have been really overwhelming because you have like one product which says it's for dry hair, then another one is for volumizing, then another one is for like moisturized yet lightweight, and then you pick the products as per your, liking. Then you go home and you try it and it doesn't work. Like, does that sound familiar?
Very familiar. That's because you are not choosing products for your hair type.
Yeah.
You are kind of going into that thing where you are selecting products based on fancy labels, on trending ingredients, but not actually your hair type. So you need to understand what really works for your hair type. Firstly, you need to know your hair type, exactly what it is. So in this episode, we can kind of break down all the aspects of really understanding your hair.
So in this episode, we'll cover how to determine your hair type, what ingredients to look for and what not to look for in products, and also figure out the right product for your hair type. By the end of this episode, you will also know how to shop smarter and finally stop wasting your money and time when it comes to shopping for your hair care.
So let's get right into it.
So the foundation of choosing the right product actually begins with understanding your hair type. So as you know, hair is actually divided into 4 different types. We have straight hair, which is your 1A category.
Type 1.
Type 1. And then you have your wavy hair, which is your type 2 category. And then you have curly, which is your type 3. And then you have kinky and coily, which is actually type 4. In India, most commonly you see type 2 and type 3, right, Yuba? So type 1 is basically poker straight hair. And then when it comes to type 2, you actually have 3 main sub-segments in that. We have like a 2A, 2B and 2C. So 2A is like wavy-ish, but it doesn't really hold that pattern. Slightly wavy. And then we have 2B where the waves are a bit more defined. And then you have 2C where you can actually see a more loose S, if I may call it, right? And then you move into like type 3. In type 3 also we have a 3A, 3B, 3C, and 3A starts with, the coily pattern will become like a little bit more prominent. And then it starts getting more tighter with like a 3B, and then finally with 3C, you're nearing to that type 4 category.
So type 3, when you say curly, right, it's more of those spirals. Like wavy is those S. This is spiral, and type 4 is those kinks, tighter curls.
We even say like the zigzag pattern. So most, afro, like the afro hair that you call it, like comes under type 4, which is actually quite rare in India. And people also tend to have like a combination of like, type 2 and type 3. Like you have it, even I have it. And I've also seen that pattern kind of change, like maybe over the wash day as well.
Also,
like on type 1, you might have like very strong pattern. Like I tend to see that like more protein is involved. Then you'll see a more prominent pattern. And then over the wash day, it kind of becomes like a little looser.
So it keeps changing. So one important thing I would like to say here is, it's not necessary that your entire head you'll have the same porosity throughout. So porosity is basically your hair cuticles, okay? Imagine the roofs, stacked on top of each other. That's like your outermost cuticle of your hair. And porosity is basically kind of the damage inflicted with maybe chemical treatments, regular wear and tear. There are so many factors, like even brushing aggressively. So that also kind of affects it. But see, do not kind of get fixated upon understanding the porosity, because it is subjective, it changes, and it's really something you don't want to get into. Because see, if you have colored hair, obviously it is color damage. So there is it is a high porosity hair.
Yeah.
And if you have virgin hair, mostly it is low porosity. The best way to determine this is how long your hair is taking to dry.
To dry,
That is the best way. If your hair dries like really quickly, it's mostly high porosity. And if it takes like really long to dry, it is mostly low porosity. So let's keep it simple then.
Yeah. Like I remember when I had like proper virgin hair, I'd never colored my hair. I remember like even with the routine, in general, it used to take a lot more time to dry.
Right.
And once I started coloring my hair, I realized that it's a lot faster.
And medium porosity is also somewhere where you are in between. That's just about porosity. Choosing your hair products based on porosity is not as hyped as it is believed to be. We will get into that a little later.
So now we come to density. So what density ideally means is it's the number of hair follicles per square inch of your scalp. So ideally it's just the thickness of your hair. Okay?
Yeah.
So like I have really dense coarse hair. You can say that. And then Yuba, according to me, will be like a medium density.
Yeah.
So it's how much, like, can I also say that it's the volume? Like how much volume you have.
Exactly.
Correct?
It's the volume that you have. Like more hair. That's just in simple terms. Yeah. And the other factor that you need to consider is your scalp type.
Yeah.
So some people have problematic scalp. Some people have oily scalp. Some people have just normal. Like I have normal scalp. I don't have any such problems with my scalp. But you tend to have some, what do you say? Like
dryness
in your scalp.
I have actually noticed that I'm definitely not on the oilier aspect for sure. I'm definitely on the drier aspect, and it also changes from place to place. Like in a place like Cochin or Bombay, it tends to be like a normal scalp. But the minute I go to like a colder place, I have seen a little bit of flakiness coming because of dryness.
Yeah, so that is one factor you need to consider, your scalp type. And the next thing that would be the most important thing to choose your products is if you have like fine or coarse hair.
Really.
That's the only thing that really matters that you should know when you're choosing.
Yeah.
So what is that? If you just pick one strand of your hair, if you can clearly, hold it in your hand and really feel it, it's thick, you can clearly see it, that means you have coarse hair, like thick hair. So if it's not too thick, if it's not too thin, it comes in the medium category, obviously. And then if it's really fine hair, like you can see it, but you can hardly see it. You can feel it, but you can't really feel it between your fingers. That's fine hair. Most people are aware of this, whether you have fine or coarse hair. That's something which you already know.
And it's also genetics, I feel, which
100%.
plays a very big factor.
Like, that does.
I tend to get that thickness from my mom. I've always seen her have it. Whereas with your parents, I've seen them have like medium density.
Yeah, so my dad has kind of coarse hair, my mom has kind of fine hair, so I'm somewhere in between, I feel.
Yeah. And I think with all the other things that you do, like coloring, it can also change, right? Little bit. Yeah. But the basic thing is what you're born with. Yeah, this is not something that really changes. You either have fine hair or you have coarse hair. Yeah, but see, it can be a combination. Like I might have coarse hair, but I don't have the density. Right? That's also
that is another combination that you need to consider. So now that you have determined your hair type, your scalp type, it's time to understand which hair products and what kind of hair products will work for what kind of hair type.
Yeah. So we can start with straight hair.
Yeah.
Now, straight hair generally tends to feel very limp. It gets greasy very fast. It'll go flat very quickly. So generally for straight hair, the best product combo to go about would be a good shampoo, which will, clean out all of that oil, and a lightweight conditioner to begin with. Yeah. And also another thing that you can add on. See, people generally tend to think that styling products are only for like from wavy hair onwards.
Yeah.
Which is actually not the right way to go about with it, because even somebody with straight hair, it's better to use like a lightweight leave-in conditioner, post conditioning your hair. It'll really help with the regular wear and tear. And even if you tend to like do a blowout, do these heat styling.
Just a layer of protection to prevent frizz.
Yeah, basically. To prevent frizz. And that would be the easiest way to go about for straight hair. And even somebody with straight hair who tends to color their hair very often, bleach their hair very often, using a deep conditioner hair mask becomes mandatory. That's like part of like nourishing your hair once in a while. And even for straight hair, you should clarify your hair. It's
definitely
very, very important.
Once a month at least.
Yeah, like clarifying your hair is part of like a, regular, a healthy hair tip to follow. Like a healthy hair regime thing to follow is like clarifying your hair once in a while to remove all kinds of buildup, because even a straight haired person tends to chumpy their hair, and all of these small things can add up to buildup eventually. Right?
And even if you have hard water.
Even if you live in a hard water area, using a chelating clarifying shampoo just brings about more boost to your volume, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. And see, mainly about the scalp, right? One thing I would like to cover is if you have been washing your hair daily. So then your scalp has that tendency to secrete more oils to compensate for the daily wash. So to come out of that loop, it might take some time, a few washes to correct it. But once you've corrected it, it goes back to normal. So you should really not wash your hair, irrespective of your hair type. Not wash your hair, like not shampoo it more than 2 to 3 times a week.
Correct.
Right?
Like it happened with us also initially. When we transitioned to CGM, I remember I was used to washing my hair very often, and then suddenly when I was not washing it and not combing it, like two main things stood out. It took some time, but once you correct it, then there's no going back.
Absolutely.
Like your scalp just reacts to it very easily.
And now about type 2 wavy hair. Now, the main thing to understand, if you have wavy hair, right, you need more hold. To give you that, to enhance, because definition is less. So to enhance the definition, you need more hold. So if you are somebody, say with fine wavy hair, please cut down on the moisturizing products like a conditioner, a leave-in, or a heavy curl cream. You need to decide either one of those, right? Because sometimes what happens is, if you have fine wavy hair, you can use a conditioner and straight away go to hold product
like a gel
and combine it like a mousse and a gel.
I was going to say, it's a game changer. I feel
it gives you that volume also. So for wavy hair, it's very simple. Less moisture, more hold. In fact, I would suggest all these products which enhance your definition, it enhances your hold, is something like what wavy hair needs. Definitely, one more thing that you need to remember if you have wavy hair is you start losing definition. So refreshing with a mousse also
helps.
Really well. Helps. Maybe day 2, day 3, you can just refresh with a little bit mousse. One more point in wavy hair I would like to say is the right haircut kind of enhances your wave pattern. So, adding more layers, in a kind of a rounder shape also kind of enhances your wave pattern. So, it's very simple. If you have wavy hair, you need more hold, less moisture. Don't use over moisturizing products. And slightly include like a deep conditioner in your routine for sure.
Which goes across
for everyone.
Types.
So, that's about wavy hair.
And generally, like one thing that we have to notice is like straight hair and wavy hair, they tend to get weighed down very easily. So even using the right amount of product, quantity also matters. Like you shouldn't use a lot, and tend to go heavy-handed.
Hair, that is something, that is the biggest mistake most people make, that they try to style on damp hair, they try to squeeze out the water.
Excess water.
So that is something you should not do. See, my mom has wavy hair and I always suggest her to use either a light leave-in or a conditioner and then go straight to the gel. So that really works well for her, and she has fine hair, so she uses the volume gel. That works really well for her.
And sometimes even using like a volume gel along with the mousse might be a game changer for like anyone with wavy.
I personally love to coat mousse over the gel all the time. And now coming to curly hair,
which is our hair type.
So for curly hair, right, you need to balance the moisture and hold. That is one thing that you need to remember, because if your hair is not well moisturized, you'll start seeing frizz very quickly.
Very easily.
Very quickly.
Like, don't you think wet frizz also becomes very common?
And one more thing, right, when you're styling, you need to know that the way it is looking when it is wet is how it will dry out.
When it's dry out,
so you need to see, if you're seeing frizz, you need to do something to correct it. So with curly hair, you need to to understand if you have fine hair or coarse hair. You use either a leave-in if you have fine hair. You use a curl cream if you have coarse hair. And then you use the gel that suits you. But you need both. You need moisture and you need hold. Because if you've compromised on moisture, hold will come with frizz, which really won't
and it'll
look
be
good.
like very stiff also, if you have noticed, right? Like that gel cast won't break very easily. Even if it breaks, it will feel very dry.
Yeah, and it feels like rough. It gets tangled easily. So that is a fine balance that you need to achieve. So focus on moisture, then focus on hold. Both are equally important.
And you cannot forget the importance of like deep conditioning your hair. Like curly hair onwards, it becomes more like a mandate. Like with straight hair, if you can do once a month. With somebody with curly hair, if you have color damage also, I would do it like once in 10 days.
Yeah,
because it really helps bring that nourishment.
2 weeks is ideal. In fact, the day you deep condition, you can see that difference in your hair. Your results are so
magical
that day.
No? It will be very nice.
And then type 4 is the coily hair.
Is kinky and the coily hair. And see, there the hair needs more moisture than hold.
Because it already has a lot of definition.
Already has a pattern. Already has a pattern. Because as she mentioned before, like with wavy, we are actually trying to hold that pattern. Which is why you need holding products. But with kinky and coily hair, it already has the pattern. You're really just trying to like make it moisturized and like leave it like that for longer.
For them, the bigger challenge is dryness. Hold is not. So for them, you have to focus on more moisturizing products.
So when it comes to like kinky and coily hair, it's best to use like light oils and butters because they give you enough moisture, and even like protective hairstyles can be like a go-to when you have really thick hair because even a twist out, a braid out, they also look trendy and also make it more manageable, I would say. And even styling techniques like the LOC method, which is ideally a leave-in, oil and curl cream, that also gives it enough moisture boost to take your wash days further. And if you have like kinky coily hair, another product that can work wonders for your hair is a co-wash.
Absolutely.
It really replenishes that moisture because even with a shampoo, like a sulfate-free shampoo also, it can dry out like kinky coily hair because it's naturally very dry. So using a co-wash can really be like a good moisture boost for your hair.
So basically the bigger challenge with them is dryness. So you need to lock in the moisture with maybe an oil or a very light gel. But not more because any gel which has more hold, like a polymer based gel, they slightly tend to dry your hair. That is a nature of that ingredient itself. So maybe avoid it and use like more plant-based moisturizing gels. Flaxseed. All these properties have moisturizing properties also.
And again, without fail, deep conditioning becomes all the more important once you cross that curly hair type. So that's pretty much about it.
So based on the hair types, I think it's fairly clear now because if you need more definition, you use more whole products. And if you already have definition, then dryness is going to be a challenge. So you use more moisturizing products. Now to understand the ingredients, right? Because you need to have some idea when you turn the bottle and you see the ingredient list, you need to know that this is not CG and these are the ingredients you really need to avoid. Because guys, sometimes, I've seen many brands, they claim certain things as the star things.
Like on the front of the label.
And you go back, it's hardly there. I mean, it's sometimes there, but like in very small quantities.
But the thing is, for a newbie, see, this is the most challenging part. Especially when you're transitioning, you're never used to reading the back of the label, correct? You're always used to seeing the fancier ads, the before and afters, and then you're actually falling for that. But when it comes to like CGM and the routine, you're really going in depth by understanding the ingredients.
It's so important because for me, now when somebody tells me, oh, this is a good product, I quickly look at the ingredient list, and I do that for my skin products also now. I mean, it works differently, but at least knowing what is in it. It's very important. So the first product that you need to look out for are sulfates. Now, what are sulfates? Like SLS, like sodium lauryl sulfate. ALS.
Most commonly found ingredient.
Very, very drying. Just please avoid it.
Yeah.
It's really drying. It really dries your hair. So any harsh sulfate. In fact, there is a list of. We can put down the link maybe somewhere. There is a list of ingredients that you need to avoid, and all these ingredients are mentioned there. So sulfates are like SLS, ALS, all these drying sulfates. Just look out. You can quickly see that in your shampoos. It will mostly be one of the top 5 ingredients. Right. The second thing are silicones. So
anything that typically ends with a cone.
Yeah. So methicone, dimethicone, all of that. So there is another list. Like cyclopentasiloxane also is there. So there are so many silicones. Now, what do silicones do?
Like
they kind of form a barrier on your hair where nothing is going in, nothing is going out. So you get a good slip. But to remove silicones, you need sulfates. Like ALS, SLS. So that becomes a vicious cycle that you are like trapped in. So you just avoid silicones as well. Next comes the heavy oils and butters. Why? Because again, if you're using heavy oils and butters, you need a harsh cleanser to remove it. Firstly. Secondly, they do cause buildup. It will weigh down your hair. So again, it's best to avoid it because you have better alternatives. You have light oils, you have light butters, you have these options available which are much better for your hair. Then comes the drying alcohols. Like there are good alcohols and bad alcohols. Again, you can find the list on the internet. But isopropyl, denatured, these kind of alcohols are drying for your hair. So avoiding them is, I think, best. Then there is a controversial mineral oils, butters, all of that. Then something like parabens. People say that they are not good, but actually, there is a controversy. I don't really get into it. We try to avoid parabens, but they are good for the preservation of the hair product. But again, there are studies claiming, risk of cancer associating all of that. So I'm not going to say much about it. But we kind of avoid it in our hair products. So these are the ingredients to look out for. And I hope now you have that clarity. In fact, there are websites where you can copy paste the ingredient list of a product, like is it CG? And there are more websites like that where you can copy paste the ingredient and it will tell you whether it is CG or no, which products are which ingredients are not CG. That also it tells you. So having that knowledge is really good for your self-care, like self-information, right?
And it's really important to do this process a little bit more cautiously in the beginning because you have to know why are you switching to these products
and the impact it is making. Because you can see the change on your hair, right? So you need to understand how these products are working for your hair.
And it takes a little bit of trial and error. Like for example, you're so used to a shampoo with a lot of lather. And suddenly you're missing that lather from a sulfate-free shampoo. But if the formulation is good, it is still cleansing your hair. And even with the silicone conditioner, you're so used to that final matte kind of a finish which you get with the silicone conditioner. But there are really good conditioners which outdo that performance.
They give you better slip, in fact. In fact, one way of checking if your scalp is really clean is after shampooing, right? You kind of run your finger like this. Just to check. You kind of get that feel of knowing. So instead of depending on the lather, you can just do this test and understand.
So guys, to summarize, you actually have to know your hair types before coming to choosing your hair products and tweak the routine as per the hair type. As we mentioned, straight hair will need a different care, curly hair will need a different care, coily hair will need a different care, and thirdly, ingredients really matter. Avoid harsh chemicals such as sulfates, silicones, parabens, and drying alcohols.
So next time you shop for hair products, please take a look at the ingredients. Choose wisely, shop smarter, I would say. And if you learned something new in today's episode, please share this with a friend who's struggling with their hair care routine. Thank you so much for tuning in today's episode. We really hope you loved it.
Make sure to drop a follow if you're listening on any podcast streaming platform and subscribe if you're on YouTube. We'll be back with another new episode next week. Till then, keep maintaining.